And he puts the power 27 points in front.
No blue bugger, no three-eyed frog, feline canine, little cat dog, cat dog.
Number
Cat
28,
dog.
Toby Thurstans.
Alone in the world is a little cat dog.
Cat dog.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Pears on a Pod. This is episode 14, and we have a massive guest planned for you this ep. But firstly, I shall introduce the man that is known as the Mega Pint, my teammate, Jack Hudson. Huddo, welcome to another ep.
Hey, mate, how are you? Yeah, good to see you again, unfortunately. It's good to be back. Another ep. It's going to be very exciting.
Yes, we have a very special guest this week. It was the 2004 premiership player. He kicked 3 goals in the granny. He's known as the man that loves 2 animals in particular, Mr. CATDOG himself, Toby Thurstans. Toby, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, boys. How are we?
Yeah, going very well, mate. I'll address that question straight off the top. CATDOG, what happened? Where did it come from?
CATDOG, yeah, it's an interesting story. It's a long one. I can give you the shortened version, but essentially it was something that me and a couple of mates and we used to call each other for years. So when I was mucking around in and around with Sturt and we'd have a bye, I was able to go home and, you know, instead of having to try and run around and catch up with everyone, we'd get everyone over to my place. We'd have a party, basically fire, etc., beers. And after a while, you know, this just became religious. So we one night it was pissing down with rain and we were sitting around a fire and we just sort of come from inside where the cartoon was on, CATDOG, right? Anyway, so we come outside and we sat around the fire and the dog was sitting next to the fire. And someone just said, "Aren't you a little hot dog?" Right? And that just sent everyone into a laugh. It was so funny. Simple but funny, and then it just sort of cottoned on from there. That we all just started to sort of come up with these CATDOG, you know, sort of jokes. Anyway, this carried on for a few years, and then we made the grand final. On my way to the grand final parade, we're on the bus, and my local footy club, where from Crib Point back in Victoria, where I'm from, they had their football trip the same weekend in Albury-Wodonga. Anyway, they rang me up. They're probably 10 beers deep, hour into the trip. And they're like, "If you win, you've got to say something." And I'm like, this is Thursday before the grand final. What I'm going to say if I win is the least of my priorities right now. Anyway, so we came up with the fact that I'd say CATDOG. Anyway, no worries. We'd forgotten about it. And then, sure enough, as the grand final was going on, and I'm getting explained this after the grand final by my mates, and my brother was on this footy trip. Peanut, don't know why he wasn't at the MCG, but anyway, he was on the footy trip. Anyway, so halfway through the game, you know, the rest of the pub knew at this stage that they were my local mates and my brother was there and they knew me playing in the grand final. And then as the game went on, obviously we got into a winning position and, you know, the rumour started to, you know, sort of build within the pub, and basically everyone knew that I was going to say CATDOG in the microphone after we won. Anyway, I was shitting bricks, man, after the grand final, thinking about doing this. Anyway, I walk up. I was so nervous about saying it that I forgot to shake the little kid's hand. All right, so the little kid's standing in the background, like staring at me with his hand out, and I've walked up to the microphone and I've just obviously gone, "CATDOG." Anyway, apparently the pub just erupted, like just went absolutely ballistic, because no one believed in that I'd actually be thinking of them at that point in time. And the rest is history, you know, like it was, what started as a simple little thing between a few mates just escalated. And, you know, I was getting sandwich bags and coffee mugs sent into my manager and all this for a long, long time. And still to this day, everyone will yell out CATDOG.
What a legacy to leave, though. Like, surely you love it, though. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's quite funny. Like, it's, you know, if there's, you know, like I didn't have the 300 game career, but everyone remembers me as CATDOG and I won the premiership. So that'll do.
Oh, that's a good way to look back.
Did anyone else have anything lined up in the team that day to say something, or they just have it and then pulled out the last second?
No, I don't think so. It wasn't something that was sort of really ever discussed. After the game, you're just in such a state of celebration that, you're hugging and kissing and doing whatever you need to do in the next sort of 20 minutes before the medal presentation. And yeah, it's definitely not something that was spoken about. I don't know. I want to say Gavin might have done something stupid at some point, but that's typical Gav. But nah, it's definitely not something that was spoken about.
Well, he did that over the weekend, poor old Gav. But we'll take you back, mate. 1998 draft. Take us in the lead up to that. What were you sort of feeling? What were the sort of movements? What was discussed beforehand?
Well, the draft was a bit of a funny one for me because I basically played country football up until bottom age under 18. So I never played representative football or, district club football like, Sanford or whatever here. So when I describe it, I kind of describe it as if I was playing for like Victor Harbour until I was 17, and then I decided to go and play for one of the Sanford clubs and got drafted. And from that, my best mate, Lucas, he was, I think he was the captain at the time of the under 18s team. And it was like our last opportunity to play football together. So he told me, he goes, just come along. And I didn't get invited. So he said, come along, ask if you can train and we'll go from there. Anyway, so I got to Stingrays and I had to ask if I could train because no one sort of really knew what I'd done over the sort of last 5 years. But I grew 8 or 9 inches in 18 months, which helped, So basically they just said, look, we're happy to let you train on, but if it doesn't work out, we'll just ask you to leave if you fall off the bat. Anyway, that was fine. So we went through that year and managed to I came third in the best and fairest and played a couple of reserves AFL games, and was really it was really not even thinking about getting drafted. The whole thing was to play football with my mate. And then it kind of just sort of played out, in my favour over the course of the year. And then sort of the last 4 or 5 weeks, you started to get a few calls from AFL clubs, and then you sort of realise the reality of it. It's like, oh my God, like this could really happen. Like I'm not expecting it. I was very naive. I was very skinny. I wasn't like I loved football, but I wasn't like a huge, like follower of the AFL. We didn't attend matches, because we actually lived, a fair way out of town to be able to get access to it. So, so then, my football club, they just said, look, you'll get drafted. We think you'll get drafted. Yeah. So then the excitement started to build. And I remember one night I was over at the local footy club, like I got a road between my house and the local football club, and you can actually yell, from one place to the other. And I was standing out in the car park with a few mates. It might have been after a training on a Thursday night, and having a few beers. And my mum walked to the front door, and she just literally could see me over in the distance. She just yelled out, "Toby!" But what? She goes, "Port Adelaide are on the phone." I was like, "Oh my God!" And so everyone's basically just going. My mum calls me on the phone. You get Port Adelaide to ring you on the phone. So it sort of built from there. But draft day was on. I'm pretty sure it was on TV. I'm trying to think back to draft day. And we followed it just from home on the couch and just with mum and dad. I remember getting drafted. Mum basically cried because I was moving interstate. Dad was pretty excited to get one of the 5 kids out of his nest so he could get back to doing what dads do. And basically they rang that night and Dad's like, he finishes all his exams in next week so he can move over. I'm like, Dad, there's a time for celebration, mate. Well, anyway, so 2 weeks later, I'd moved over after draft night and ripped into it.
How was that first meeting with Choco? Because obviously he came over. It was his first year as coach as well. How was that? Yeah,
it's hard to remember back in terms of the first meeting with Choco. I had interviews with him throughout the year, but then also mainly just with the list managers as well. So Yeah, he asked some obscure questions, but then once I got onto the lift, back then it was, if you're the youngest, you got to be doing the most, first on the track, last off the track. But he was, it's fair to say my naiveness, didn't help. And it was a brutal reality shock, to sort of listen to, well, not the ranting and raving, but, the yelling and the constant assessment, you're always being reviewed and monitored. But look, I'm pretty cruisy, pretty relaxed kind of a customer. So no, it was all good.
You had him for all your career. Like, it's not often that you have someone, same coach for your whole career. So what was it like over time, like your relationship with Choco, and how did it grow?
We're different, me and Choco. Like, we didn't get along. We didn't have a real close connection. I think I was Choco's probably greatest frustration. I had the athleticism and the ability, but I didn't, probably didn't have the drive of some of the other players. So he may have sort of found that frustrating. But it probably took me 3 or 4 years to sort of work out what to do and how much training was involved and how much you need to look after yourself, etc. But we got, Choco's very confronting. He's in your face, and he's got that confrontational personality where I'm the opposite. I'm like, shit, is Choco in the change room now? I'll just have I want to steer clear of that room for about an hour. That's why I was always only the last one at training, because I was steering clear of him.
That's smart.
But no, he's great now. Like we've got a pretty good relationship post football. Just obviously having that premiership connection, sort of really helps. And Choco, as he, sort of, got into his coaching career, he changed his ways. He learnt, new behaviours. So we all evolve, and we managed to sort of get along really well now.
You did mention it took you a couple of years to get into the system. Round 1, 2003 against the Eagles. That was your debut. How was that for you after 4 years of trying to break into the side?
Yeah, it was such an amazing feeling. I had spent the few years battling away, and I think the year before, I held the record for the most emergencies, without ever getting picked. It was ridiculous. It was like every Thursday night in the footy show, my name was on, and to the point where they'd just make a joke of it, or not even read it out. It was like he's emergency again, but won't play. But the first 2 years, I definitely wasn't ready to play football. My third and fourth year were a bit different. I'd obviously put on a bit of size and was able to develop a bit more, and made the sample team of the year. But we just had so many good players. I think lost 4 games each year for 4 years running. It was just I played as a backman for Sturt. Same with my junior football and a bit in the ruck. And I was never played forward, but the only way I could get into the side was to play as a forward, because we had Wakeland and Bishop and those guys, even sort of Paxman and Mead earlier. So that's sort of how it sort of evolved. But I think I remember coming on, getting picked for my first game. And, it was over in Perth. Get to run out with your son. It was quite an emotional time for myself. So, kids these days, they get drafted and they play straight away. So they don't have that, build up of emotion and, the sacrifices that you've had to make over 3 or 4 or 5 year period to make it, actually get a game. So no, it was an amazing feeling. And I think I only got on the ground because Wakes got knocked out. So they chucked me down back. Anyway, so I went down back, and then, and then that was it. That's where it all started.
And you ended up winning best first year player for that year. Did you ever expect that would happen?
Well, when you're 25 against 18-year-olds, that might be too hard. No, I didn't expect it, but I was, once I got in there, I was ready to play. It was a great honour. We've just moved, so I don't know where a lot of my stuff is at the moment. So I do have that medal with my premiership medal as the best first year player. So it was a great honour, and but I suppose it just reiterated the fact that I was ready to play at that level, and that I could mix it with them.
Going into the next year, obviously best first year player as such, and going into 2004, what was the feeling like, especially reaching round one where you pretty much put the Bombers in their place, 94 points, and the year was the story itself? How did that feel?
Yeah, the year was, the expectation that I had for myself was a bit high. I still was playing up forward, so I was still trying to learn the craft. 03, I missed 10 weeks with the old osteitis pubis injury that seemed to be the fat at the time. So I had a really good preseason. We had a preseason camp in New Zealand that year, and that was such an amazing experience. And then just sort of, it was a good feeling, just a good build up to the year. And then, I just was able to just play a bit more consistent. Basically it was just a decoy for Treaders and Lady when they were up there. So it wasn't too hard to do. So the year was, I'm not one that can, remember back, real easily at all these games. I see all these people and they remember every little detail, but
Sorry.
I just remember, I suppose the confidence around the team that you kind of, after the previous years, we did have some disappointing postseason results. But during the year, you just kind of felt like you'd always win. Like there was no nervousness about the team not rocking up and not playing and, getting belted. So there was an ease and a comfort in that. And that just allowed people to sort of, play naturally and, and then just, we basically just were able to sort of work our way through the year and just put ourselves in a position to be able to sort of have a crack at the granny.
And talk about the granny as well. Your 3 goals, 2 of them at an incredibly crucial time. One at the end of the second, one at the beginning of the third. Well, I'm going to take you back to trying to remember some old stuff, but how are you feeling like, because it was a very important moment, a sort of crossroads, like going for those goals?
Yeah, it was. They're definitely on a roll. When you're in the game, it's a bit different than watching it. So you don't actually sort of take too much note of how critical the time is. Like they weren't too far ahead. Obviously, we sensed that they had a bit of momentum, but it's not like when you are watching it or you're watching the commentary where you've got the commentary, emphasising one team is on top over the other. Out on the ground, it's a different experience, which is really hard to describe. But it was an unbiased, supporter base, so it wasn't like you had that cauldron that you would get on other occasions. But like I don't know, like I've sort of expressed before, I'm pretty laid back and pretty casual. So we had a clear game plan. I just had to, sort of make sure that, that we adhered to our structures and our setups, which we felt, were going to sort of get us over the top. And Brisbane were ageing. Obviously, they had a lot of injury concerns. But, I suppose at those moments, I didn't really ever feel the pressure of it being in a grand final and kicking it. I always felt that I had a pretty good action for kicking, and I was it was a pretty smooth, pretty easy sort of action. So I just always had the same routine, went back, looked for a spot behind the goals, and just basically executed what I've always done.
You pretty much kicked the sealer in the last quarter. We call Stewie Jew's goal the proper sealer, but I reckon yours, when it went 5 goals up, was the actual sealer. What was that? Was that the moment you thought, we've got this, or was it later down into the last quarter?
No, you're probably about right. We probably got to, that 5 or 6 goals. And I reckon Gavin, even when Gavin kicked his goal, I reckon Treaders is like yelling at everyone to calm down. Like everyone else is celebrating already by now. Like, you know, they're starting to go over the top. But Treaders was, you know, get back on the job. But we had a different, you know, sort of mindset by then. So, you know, sort of, you know, I don't think I've ever, you know, kicked the seal. I think Dewey's probably broke the back of that. And then I think King has kicked one in the last quarter there as well. So everyone sort of chimed in. But we just had the momentum. Back then footy was a bit different. Like you didn't go on runs like that. Like unless you were, because it was so much more of a one-on-one game. You know, the run on football, you know, wasn't as prevalent as it is today. So, yeah, it you know, you're able to enjoy the moment. Let's put it that way in the last quarter when you kick those goals.
Hey, Huddo.
Yeah.
I reckon Treaders actually would have been pretty pissed with everyone kicking more than 2 goals because he only kicked 1-2 that day.
We don't tell him about it at all.
Excellent. We'll run through the next couple of years as well. So 05, 06 was a bit tough, and as well there was a possibility of leaving the club. What was that sort of time like for you, and then eventually moving into defence again?
Yeah, so 05, 06, I seemed to just get ankle. I had a good pre-season, and then right before round one, I'd get an ankle injury or something, and it would just sort of be enough to just sort of disrupt you. And you know, I was playing still as a forward, which was not really a natural position for myself. And then that, you know, just sort of led to my form sort of waning up and down and sort of a bit in and out, which was very, very frustrating. You know, at the end of 05, wasn't something that I thought in my exit interview, but it was something that sort of evolved during the trade period. Was, you know, looking at a move, and Clarkson had obviously just gone to Hawthorn. So the connection was there, and basically the trade was organised, and both parties had agreed on it. And yeah, it was you know, sort of the last half an hour of you know, like a 1 year trade period, but we had to wait to the last half an hour, which was ridiculous.
Classic.
Anyway, yeah, so all agreed. Anyway, I'm driving home. I get a phone call from a manager, and he's like, "Quick, you need to get to the office." Because at that time, not everyone had signed a power of attorney to the managers to act on their behalf. Only, you know, certain people would have done, you know, if there was a likelihood. But anyway, I got timed out. I didn't get to the office in time, and couldn't obviously get the deal done and the papers signed. So I stayed at Port, which, you know, whatever. That you know, wasn't such a bad thing. I didn't really want to leave anyway. But and then, yeah, similar, 06 kind of just sort of rolled out a little bit the same as 05. And then at the end of the year is obviously when we had the discussion about, you know, maybe a positional change or making a move. So, yeah, so then that's when we ended up in defence.
Did you prefer forward, or did you prefer going back in 07 and feeling like how you did back in your junior days?
Yeah, I hated playing as a forward. I couldn't get it. Like, as much as I'd run and work and work it out, it just you know, didn't agree with me for some reason. Anyway, as a backman, I could just follow, you know, a forward around, and I just, yeah, for some reason I just had a better feel for playing in defence. So was far more comfortable, you know. And then at the age of sort of 27, you know, played my best years of football. So yeah, I feel not regret, but I wish that I had made that move a little bit earlier at times. But unfortunately, we're in the same boat. You've got Bishop and Wakeland and the like of these guys that are holding down those, you know, key defensive positions, which, you know, sort of made it hard. And even, you know, sort of Cornsey was running around through there as well. So look, yeah, it is what it is. But, you know, I'm glad that eventually we ended up down back.
And 07, phenomenal year apart from that last game. But what was it like? Because it was basically like a mini rebuild sort of thing with a young side that just charged. What was that year like?
It was a very exciting year, actually. Like, had a really good draft year that year. They all sort of came in, played straight away, and they kind of just had a different standard. It was, they had a confidence in them, that believed that they were going to play straight away, so they trained that way. And so sort of that rubs off on everyone else. So, and, as, myself getting a bit older, a few of the other guys, Cornsey and them are, Treaders getting, towards the late 20s. It just really, rejuvenated the club a bit. And then when you start to win, confidence is key, to any football team. So, we kind of just went into, we were able to sort of play most of the year as the underdog for some reason. It just felt like no one was ever chasing us. We were a young team, and and even sort of culminating in that win down in Geelong. And it was probably not until that moment where sort of people stood up and said, well, we're a chance. So obviously didn't end very well, but we had to, in terms of our age demographic and the people that played, it was such a great achievement and such a great year for the club.
We've had a few mentions about that 07 round 21 against the Cats. What was your memory down at Geelong? Because we've heard Tom Logan got cramped trying to carry Dom Cassisi in the celebration. I'm pretty sure you were down forward as well at the time he kicked it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that moment?
I do. It was the only good moment of the whole game. I had a stinker and playing down back, and then I had to do something. So basically just ran forward, found myself inside 50 after the centre bounce, I reckon. Anyway, so I reckon it was Joel Corey or anyway, someone had picked the ball up and they were running out, and I'd laid this perfect tackle, basically walking back off the mark, like, give me the ball back. But anyway, Dom played on. I didn't call the free kick, nailed it on his left. So me and Dom do talk about that regularly, but he gets all the credit.
I do remember that tackle now. What I think about it, it was actually very good. He got him cold.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Your last year as well, your only Brownlow vote in a game, and I lost against Melbourne. Yeah, really?
Swear to God, no way, couldn't have been.
Yeah, only Brownlow vote. We lost to Melbourne at the G by 11 points, and you scored a Brownlow vote.
See, I reckon my only Brownlow vote was against Fremantle in Western Australia, and I got 2. That was my only recollection of a Brownlow vote.
Well, Huddo's pulled out a shit stat here.
Here we go. Hold on.
How are you questioning?
Oh, no, there is another Brownlow vote. So there's 2 Brownlow votes. The other one, so you did get one against Freo in 04. There you go.
That's the one.
So
as a forward.
Yeah. Big Polar and Brownlow vote. Brownlow night, Toby.
It's a midfielder's award, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you ever get to go along to one?
No, shit, no.
No.
None of
the boys dragged on?
Not even as a +1, mate. No, I was never that lucky.
That's Steve.
Yeah.
And
they never invite forward defenders either. It's so shit.
Yeah.
And obviously that being your last year, what was it like sort of pulling the plug on your career?
Retirement actually was abrupt for me. It wasn't something that I actually was 29 and my body was still sound, and but I wasn't a footy head. I've always been under the spotlight, or a lot of scrutiny, a lot of this from supporters, and eventually it just sort of takes its toll, and you sort of don't enjoy it as much, and just at the end of the year I just sort of sat down with my wife and just said that I felt like I don't enjoy it. I feel like I've had enough, and I feel like I need to move on, and then that was the decision. Next day I went into the exit meeting and told Choco and that right at the start, and that meeting took a different turn than probably what it was going to do. So it was actually such a relieving moment, in terms of, right, that's done. I can, sort of move on to the next phase of my life, and then had to scramble and find a job.
That's very good.
And what was that like? Like, it would have been like, because a lot of players have said like it is tough, like moving into that post-footy world. How did you find it?
Yeah, it is. It's obviously a hindsight. You look back and you look at how you dealt with it and the emotions that you went through. Finished, I think it was late August, without the finals. So then, your contract lasts, to the end of October. So you got a little bit of lag there. But it was quite daunting. Like, if you haven't been through an interview process, you don't know what questions to ask. You don't know, what, the questions that they ask of you, how to answer it. So that whole process was a steep learning curve. Fortunately enough, obviously through networking over the years and getting to know some people in industries, it was more of a, who you know, not what you know. So, but the hardest thing adjusting to was is being able to make your own decisions. Like, as funny as that sounds, you live 11 years where you're being told what to do, where to be, what time to do it, what to eat, when you can and can't do it. And it was actually quite strange to be able to, realise that you could pick up a beer on a Wednesday at 4 PM and not feel guilty for doing it. So, and the other thing was just the inner sanctum. So you spend so much time with these, teammates that you have a nickname for everyone, for every opportunity, for every situation. You know people inside and out, and to not be part of that, and to sort of catch up with people that are still playing afterwards, and they, got new nicknames, or they've got their new stories and all this sort of stuff. You actually, you kind of feel a bit left out. Like, you still want to feel like you need to engage in it and try and put yourself in that situation. So if you're ever trying to work out and ask what's this story about, and eventually you just got to let go, and just move on. That's their time. You've had your time, and but yeah, it is quite difficult adjusting. But I feel that I was better at real life than football life.
You did mention nicknames just then. What was yours at the footy club?
my nickname is Sword.
Sword.
What?
I did see Dav comment that on Twitter, actually.
Yeah, it's that's one for the locker rooms. But I have literally been called that since I was 21, I reckon. Like, and no one called me anything else for forever. It was weird to be called Toby or Thursto or something stupid.
Thursto's bang average, I reckon.
Yeah,
I would have gone with Thirsty.
Call me Thirsty, yeah, Thurstans.
That is, that I reckon that is the perfect segue, Ant, into Big Brother.
Yeah, I was going to go with Thirsty Sword, combine the two, but I don't know if I want to now. We will go into the segment where we do a bit of Big Brother. This is where the Thirsty Sword will tell us about some of the inner sanctum stuff from behind the scenes at footy trips, or an obscure story that he might have had, rooming with teammates across away trips. So, Toby, tell us a few stories that some people will not know of from the playing your footy days at Port Adelaide.
Well, you got me on a bit of a spot here. I'm trying to think of the first thing that comes to mind. I used to live, I'm trying to think, I lived with Adam Morgan, so we got drafted together, and I lived with Morgs. And then Josh Carr, Michael Stevens, and Brent Guerra, they all lived together for a period of time. But Brent Guerra loved doing stupid shit. Like, he'd never sit on the couch. He's always out in his car. He's always doing, silly stuff. Anyway, he used to dress up in his gimp mask. And he just used to make a habit of going around to people's houses and like knocking on windows and doing all this freaky shit just in this gimp mask. Anyway, didn't end well one. And I reckon it was Kari, and that because I didn't know about it. He would have gone and done it with some other, a couple of the other boys. And Kari doesn't, he doesn't like that sort of stuff. So he just basically grabbed the first sharp implement that he could find and was basically just off after him. He's taking his mask off. It's all right, it's just me. But, that's when you've got plenty of time on your hands, you've got plenty of stupid things to think of.
Oh, my God. I was going to ask if he actually did it to people he knew rather than just strangers, because that would have been a problem.
No, it was definitely the people he knew. He wouldn't know. He didn't have the balls to do it to people he didn't know.
I'm sure he was challenged. And who did you room with when you went away, like for away games? Who was your roommate?
I roomed a bit with Dom Cassisi, and roomed a bit with Treaders, and Kari, those sort of lights. But once, I reckon from probably, might have been 07 onwards, we all got our own room. So right. It was it wasn't too bad. It was good. You could sort of come and go as you please. And, there's some people who've got some weird, superstitions and they'd like to do stuff, it's like, and you can't deal with it. So it's just better that you have your own room.
But who had probably some of the best ones off the top of your head?
I didn't room with Kane, but I'd imagine what Kane would have done pre-game, you couldn't deal with.
We heard a good one about because when he roomed with Dom, that he used to pinch the remote. He used to race up to the room, take the TV remote, make sure Dom could get it.
It wouldn't surprise me, because what? So Dom couldn't watch what he wanted.
No, and then he'd eventually get his own remote.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying before. Like, some people can remember this sort of stuff. I'm hopeless at remembering back at the past.
Oh, that's good. I think growing a gimp mask. That's my favourite record. So far,
the terrific. Gimp mask. Oh, that's very good. Huddo, should we do random port merch?
Absolutely, we should.
All right. This is Toby. This is where we reveal some random port merch that's been rolling around our bedrooms, our house, or anything that's pretty obscure to us. And Huddo's going to kick us off. He's got something that I think we all love.
Oh, this is a good throwback, and this is one I actually had that was my size back in the day when I was 10. I found the old lightning bolt Guernsey.
Oh, yes.
And there's some signatures on the back that they're very worn off, as you can see. Looks like someone's attacked me with a Sharpie as a young fellow.
Am I on there?
That's what I'm trying to work out. I can't actually make out barely anybody. It's because it has been washed that many times that I think I can see Sean Burgoyne's, I can see Choco. I can barely see anybody else.
It's definitely post 03, so I'm a chance.
Yeah, so you're probably on there somewhere on the back, but I've got a few others as well that are also signed that I'm sure
Is that as obscure as you got? What else you got?
Geez, don't get him started. No, don't get him started.
Well, considering some of the other crap that I had that have been on previous episodes, I'd say probably watch the other ones back, Toby, and you'll definitely see some of the weird shit that I have. Like, this is one I had last week with George Fiarchi about 97 season, just on VHS.
Show Toby the mouse pad.
I don't know what I've done with it. I think I put that away.
He had a Planet Teal mouse pad, Toby. And that was his merch.
Planet Teal.
Planet Teal mouse pad. Yeah.
What are you, 8?
Well, here's my little Thunder Power watch that's just sitting in the drawer. So
matches your taped up headphones.
I know. I'm not going to
look like Mickey
blame you.
Mouse or something.
I blame FIFA for that. They went across the room, and that's how they came back.
That's sensational.
I'm gonna go buy some new ones now because it's finally been spotted.
That's the earliest in a podcast that Huddo has been rinsed as well. That's fantastic.
Appreciate that, Toby. That's terrific.
Toby, what's something that you have lying around the house? Obviously, you mentioned you just moved before. What have you got? Doesn't have to be in front of it. What's something that you've carried around for a bit since your time?
Well, I do have a number of football cards.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I've got a football card collection. Basically, I've only got a football card collection because there's a guy from WA that used to find you via LinkedIn or via the football club. And he'd send this pre-stamped envelope across with all these football cards for you to sign.
We think we know who it is.
So I would keep half and send half back. So tuck them away. Any ones that I didn't have, I just add a couple to my collection.
Please, Toby, do you know who it is? Do you know who it is?
I do.
Is it our good friend Monty?
What's his last name? A Lassie or?
No. What's Monty's last name again, Ant? Is it?
Starts with a K.
Kahungo or something like that?
No, different.
Okay, it's not him.
Oh, there's someone else in WA.
There's someone else.
No.
For these Perth Port fans that just relentlessly send merchandise to old players.
It's probably Monty's burner account.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Who knows?
So you got some random old footy cards, buddy. Who's the best one that you've got? Did you get one of yourself?
Well, they're all of me.
Oh, that's even freakier.
I can keep someone else.
Oh my God, that is superb.
What else have I got? I've got my very first player number pin.
Oh, yep.
When you play, you get presented with a pin from the board. That's got your player number on it. And that's probably really about it. Apart from like the little medals, and we've got a replica premiership cup, and a bit of that stuff. But I got a couple of things when I played 100 games and then retired from the club and from Sturt. But I'm not into putting shit up on the walls. Like I just can't. I see all these people put their own memorabilia up, and I don't know. I can't.
Can't do it.
I don't really like the look of myself, let alone look at myself every day walking down the hallway.
Just put it next to the giant self-portrait of yourself that you've got above the family fireplace. Ant-Man finishes off with that segment. What have you got?
I can't top that, but I was just going to mention, I've got a DVD of round 12, 2007, where we played Essendon. Essendon at home, where we played, I think it was Treaders' 200.
Oh, I know exactly what game that is too, I'm pretty sure.
Robbie Gray kicked 2, 3 or 4 or something.
Robbie are a fanboy. It's Trav's debut game.
Robbie kicked one of the most amazing goals that game. He's just come out of full forward. He's inside the 450. He's just grabbed his ground ball, turned, and about 8 people just go over his head. He just turns back to the goals and slots it through.
Was that Trav's debut, was it?
That was Trav's debut. I'm sure you should have known that. But,
no, I did. I just wanted to test your knowledge.
Robbie kicked 4 that night. He tore it up. I remember watching that, just going, "This kid's wicked."
Yeah, I know. And he was picked 57 or something. Like, it was ridiculous.
Treaders kicked 4 as well, and had one of the most over-the-top celebrations. He had a few in his career, but there was one, I think, put 10 goals up, and he celebrated like he's won the game.
He didn't call someone, did he? Was he?
No. The bow.
His bow.
Did you ever have a good celebration yourself, Toby?
No.
Just simple. Just head back to the middle, boys.
It took me 4 years to build up to a fist pump. Like the white boots. It took me 5 years to cotton onto the white boot.
Treaders started that trend too. It was the only one in 2005 to wear white boots, Treaders. I think.
Good on him.
Bloody hell.
That's very good. That might be the best random port merch segment of the year.
Yes. Now,
and I don't think that'll be topped.
Let's see if quickfire questions can hopefully deliver the goods.
Oh,
All right,
no.
Toby, we're going to do quick fire questions. You did mention a bit of scrutiny in your career, but this will be even more scrutinised if you get these anywhere near distasteful as Huddo. So expect some DMs. We'll kick it off straight away. What is your favourite TV show?
Suits.
Oh, very good.
Straight to the
Good
point.
start.
That is the quickest answer we've had to that question.
I've watched it about 8 times.
Yes. Love a
I love it.
rerun.
Karaoke song. What's your go-to?
Or Vaselines, Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh,
That's obscure. I like
that
it.
is,
Yeah. It's only because I know all the words to it.
Your favourite Simpsons character?
Oh, not really a Simpsons man, but Homer would be. I just think shit that Homer does is unbelievable.
I love that. Your favourite flavoured potato chip?
Salt and vinegar.
Yeah, good. I like this already.
Yep, sweet.
What is your favourite, cats or dogs?
Dog.
Love that.
Not a combination
And-
of the two, I'm sure.
And finally, have I missed one, Huddo? No, I haven't.
No.
Good. I just wanted to build up to this one. Toby Thurstans, what is your favourite shapes flavour?
Or chicken crimpy.
Yes! Yes, Toby! Yes! We're back!
No. No.
Yes.
I called it before
We
the call. I said it.
absolutely did. Thank you, Toby. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank
yeah.
God.
Unbelievable. Toby, Dom, and Huddo on an island.
Chicken
Chicken
crimpy.
That's
Oh,
disgusting.
can't go wrong. It's elite.
Nah.
What's yours, Anthony?
Barbecue.
Oh, predictable.
Exactly. Bang on. Bang on.
That's
Oh.
disgraceful. That's disgraceful. Huddo, move on.
That's on par with Dom. I'm ecstatic.
I was building my team. There was a team of barbecues, and you've just ruined it. Yeah, you know what? You're on the emergency list with Dom and Huddo now.
Hey, he's my starting fullback, so it's all good.
That's
Logan
right.
would be a barbecue shape guy, wouldn't he?
Who was that, sorry?
Tommy Logan, did you do Tommy?
Oh, yeah, Tommy who? Okay. I think he said barbecue.
Nah, I think Tommy was barbecue.
Yeah. Most of them have been.
I don't think
quite painful.
No, actually, Tommy was pizza.
Oh, yep.
Oh, yeah, that'd be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone else has been pretty much barbecue. So, all right, I'll cop this one. But anyway, let's move on before I start crying. Obscure Port players. This is where we mention Port Adelaide players under 100 games. Some that haven't been mentioned as much that deserve some love. And Huddo, you can kick us off.
Oh, of course, I have to kick us off. So I decided to go back to around the 2002 sort of mark.
Oh no!
Oh, please don't. So
Don't, please.
in this year, he kicked a very famous goal against the Sydney Swans. I believe it's 2002. Yeah.
Pulse.
Jared Polton, exactly. 88 games, Jared Polton. Yeah, so he's my obscure player. And I still remember watching that game. And a commentator, as they were commentating, very unenthusiastically said, he's kicked it. As it's sailing through. If you go back and listen to it, it's just, he's kicked it.
He's
Just
kicked it.
boring as.
Oh, he's a
I think
bloody
it was-
legend, Pulse.
Yeah, he was.
He is one of the all-time greats. I always go along very, very well with Pulse. He's over on Yorks at the moment. We don't get to see him anywhere near often enough, but what a legend.
Yeah, absolute gun. True Port Adelaide man, Pulse.
Yeah.
It's always a joy to watch.
He used to paint his nails and do all sorts of stuff, Pulse. He's one for not caring about what others think.
He's definitely one I'm now keen to get on the pod. Very eager to get Pulse on the pod.
He might be, he might be a good one. I don't know how much you'd remember though.
we like just testing people's memories.
Toby, did you have an obscure Port player?
Oh, geez. When you asked about obscure Port players, and I didn't really think I was going to have to answer this. I haven't really been thinking about it.
No one ever does.
Oh, who is an obscure poor player? Remember Don Webb?
Oh,
Big Donny Webb. He was a Tasmanian. He got drafted similar year to us. He's about 250 centimeters. He was, like he was a big guy, a big 18-year-old. And I remember him for two reasons. One was we used to have to do this Ray Huppets exercise where we'd get out on the oval and we'd have to sort of be someone would bend over and someone would have to sort of take a specky on your back and just sort of, to be sort of light, not go bang and, sort of nail someone. But Webby could not do it for shit. And I always seemed to line up and get Webby because we were same age but same, similar height. Oh my God, it felt like he kept kneeing in the back with a sledgehammer. And I'm like, it clearly wasn't working, the exercise. And the other thing was Barney French used to live with him and he used to tell me a story about how he'd wake up and he'd go and have toast for breakfast, but he'd have like this tub of lard, like what you do in the 1920s.
Oh my word.
And he'd spread like lard on his toast and like eat it.
Oh.
I'm like, can't get much obscure than that.
I reckon that's the most obscure ever.
Oh, yeah, that. Don Webb.
Don Webb. He didn't play a game. He was just he was just on the list for. I reckon he was on the list for a year.
Mm.
Got kicked for being a lardman.
Lard on toast.
Yeah,
that's insane. I'll quickly do mine. He played one game, had one win, 2002. It was 2 touches against Carlton. Alan Murray.
Oh, Budge Murray.
Yes.
Yeah, Alan Murray, brother of Derek.
Yes, it was.
He won a pre-season flag, though, didn't he, too?
0-2. Oh, against the
Richmond.
Tigers?
Yeah.
The Wizard Cup or NAB Cup or whatever it was.
Yeah, the 50 different sponsors cup. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Wizard that year.
Yes, it
Wizard.
was.
He's a good guy, Buds. He used to tear it up for South Adelaide in the Sandford, like take hangers and all sorts of things. He just couldn't. I don't know. His body just let him down. He couldn't get a run at it.
It's a bloody shame.
That's
bloody exciting.
That's elite. All right, let's go into our next segment. Probably the best segment. It's where we talk about our favourite Stephen Salopek moments. It's called Better Call Sal.
And Salopek finishes it.
Toby, have you got a Stephen Salopek moment that you'd love to share?
And I don't know if it's been brought up, but Stephen thought he was like a bit of a fashionista, or he thought he was a bit edgy, fair to say. So I put him in the Troy Chaplin category of not really having too many ideas about what to wear. And he rocked up to training one day, during the year, and he had this like yellow Nike tip, like peroxided into his hair. And you should have said, like, and how do you have the confidence to do that to your hair? One, think it looks good. Two, then walk into the club in front of Choco and think nothing was going to happen. Oh, mate.
What did Choco say?
I can't remember, but basically the whole room just, like, we're in the amphitheatre in the lecture, and everyone just looked at him and just laughed and just like, oh my God. And proceeded to like run it for a couple of weeks. And you'll be able to find games where he's got the yellow Nike tip.
Oh shit! We love talking his hair. We have spoken about his hair before, like with the tips and stuff like that. That is. And the funny thing is, this is the third time Troy Chaplin has been mentioned in this segment.
They were peas in a pod, those two.
Oh, Pears on a pod, love it.
That's a very good Better Call Sal. Always with his hair.
Yeah.
The tips, 0-4, round 1 against Essendon. Chad Corns had very few words to say about it as well.
Chad liked the tip back in the day.
Yeah,
he did.
He did.
He did.
That and the curls, like he was. Yeah, peak Chad.
Chad used to, like, Chad took a while to cotton onto the fashion side of things. He used to buy pants thinking that, like jeans, that if you bought them bigger, they would get longer in the leg, not realising that jeans had a leg length. So he'd wear these jeans, they're literally like parachutes, but they're all bunched up around underneath the buckle because he's like, oh, they're too short, and I'm trying to get them longer. I was like, oh my God, mate. You can picture it, right?
Oh,
yeah.
A bit of Shaggy.
Yeah.
A bit of Shaggy about him.
If I see him at the club, I'm going to ask him about his jeans exploits that he's had. Oh, that is bloody superb.
Huddo, any final thoughts before we head off?
Oh, yeah, Toby, honestly, thank you for joining us, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like, watching you as well as chatting to you today. It's been awesome. And
I've had a ball.
Yeah, we've had some previous guests on before. We've had Don, we've had Tommy Logan, had Jace Davenport. Have you got anything that we can stitch him sort of up with that you might be able to throw him under the bus? Especially Dav. We love throwing Dav under the bus.
Well, Logs, you get the best out of Logs to stitch Dav up. I don't know if I'll be able to top anything that Logs ever said. And I didn't spend a lot of time on the list with Jace, but he did always refer to himself as the Eagle Killer.
Yeah.
which is obviously quite common. But no, look, I actually really like Jace. I thought he was quite a good guy. But no, honestly, I haven't got too much to stitch people up there. They're probably a couple of my favourite people.
Yeah, there's a couple of ours as well. They've been terrific. So, yeah, thanks so much for that, Toby. Really do appreciate it.
All good. Had fun.